Hello, and welcome to episode 4 of the Splashcast. It is me, James Miller, the owner and operator of SwimWv, and I'm going to be talking with Emily Martin of Parkersburg High School. I'm going to give you Region 1 scores, but before I do, I'm going to give you guys a brief key to winning the state championship. And here it is. Here's a little factoid, a little statistic that I bet you do not know. So you guys ready? Here's how you win. All right, you must finish 3 relays, not 2, but 3 relays in the top 6. Because on the girls' side, 16 of the 24 champions of the state swim meet have qualified 3 relays in the top 6. 17 of the 24 of the guys' relays have finished in the top 6. And so you might ask, well, what happened to the other ones? Well, it's funny you ask, because I'm going to tell you. There are other avenues, but they are very rare. One instance, I think a couple instances, instead of finishing 6th, the relays finished 7th. Another instance, both relays finished 1st. Okay, so they finished 1st. So that made up for the difference in the top 6. The last one, and this is super rare and only like 1 or 2 of them did this, is that the second place winner did not have 3 relays in the top 6. So because both the first place and the second place did not have 3 relays, it was a very well-balanced state meet that year. That's how it worked, but that is so rare. So the key to winning the state tournament is 3 relays, top 6. Don't believe me? Look it up. All right, so we are going to turn it over to me and Emily Martin right now.
Here we go.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm here with Emily Martin, and she is the head coach of Parkersburg High School. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you, James?
I'm doing pretty good. How does it feel to finally see the face of like a website that you've looked at for so long?
It's pretty awesome. You know, I didn't even know your name until you texted me yesterday. So that was pretty awesome to kind of put not only a name but a face to the website in the same week.
That's awesome. So before we get started talking about regionals, I know everyone wants to know about Parkersburg and regionals. I believe you created something that the whole site or the whole state knew about. Tell me about that.
I did. Once the format for the state meet came out, I sent an email to Cindy and Bernie and the entire SSAC, and I got a phone call with Cindy and Bernie, and I basically was told they were not budging on that timed finals format. And so I started the petition on change.org to change it. I collaborated with coaches across the state, gathering information and presenting a plan to them. Unfortunately, it was not successful. They still wouldn't budge. I think they just kind of dug their heels in too much, and they weren't going to listen to the suggestions that we had. But I think it got some publicity out for the sport across the state.
It did.
And kind of brought awareness to the way that swimming is often treated by organizations like the SSAC, because we're not a money-making sport. So we put forth a good effort trying to get this changed for our kids. Unfortunately, it didn't work, but now we've got to make the best of it, and we're looking forward to state meet.
Absolutely. Now, I will tell you, that was probably the longest thing I ever cut and pasted on my website ever. It was a pretty lengthy, it was pretty lengthy, but I was able to post it on my site. So let's talk about
emails I sent.
What's that?
The emails I sent were even longer. That was the pared down version.
Oh, that was the pared down version. Well, and that's actually, it's actually funny. And I mentioned this in another podcast. That's actually kind of why I'm doing this, is because you just talked about how other sports kind of have like someone that will sit here and talk about the sport of swimming. And I'll talk to anyone about the sport of swimming forever, and people will think I'm the most boring person on the planet, but I'll still talk about it. So there we are.
Same here. I love that you're doing this.
Yes, thank you. So let's talk about how many years have you been at Parkersburg?
This is my 5th year coaching with the team. My 2nd year as head coach. I was assistant coach with Terry Niswarner for 3 years, and then when he left, I just stepped right into as head coach. I'm also a PHS alum.
Oh,
So
okay.
I was a Big Red. Graduated in 2009.
Oh
Um,
man,
was,
I'm very upset
what's
because
that?
I'm very upset because I would have looked this up and I would have been like, I would have did what I did with Will Squires the other day.
Yeah. If you look through when they send out the state programs, you'll see my name for a couple of state championships. Back in
Okay.
2006, 2007. So, and I had 3 individual team records and 1 medley. I was on the medley relay until Grace Cox wiped them all out before she graduated. So that was really awesome to coach her while she broke my records. That was
That is awesome. So tell me, so is there any pressure? So well, before we get to regionals, is there any pressure being the assistant and then suddenly now you're the head coach? Is there like kind of a pressure, especially with a team like Parkersburg that is consistently good across the board? Like, is there like a lot of pressure there?
Oh, absolutely. And I took over as head coach when we had just won back-to-back girls championships. So, Terry got us through those back-to-back state championships and then was just like, okay, here you go, try and get the three-peat. So there was a lot of pressure taking over that role. The kids have done awesome. It's been an awesome role to step into, but it definitely comes with a whole lot of pressure.
I'm sure. Now, tell me, regional. Let's talk about regionals. That's what everyone came here for, I guess. So tell me, what was your big takeaway? Like, what did Parkersburg do really well at regionals?
They raced. We all year, we've all been in the same boat where we only have dual meets. You don't really get to race a whole lot. You don't get a lot of practice with that. I've got a very young team, especially on the boys' side. The majority of my boys going to states are sophomores. And they really showed up, and in those close races, they edged people out. They really stepped up to that challenge of really having to push yourself against the person in the next lane and making sure you get into the wall first. And they did that.
Now tell me, was there something, what is the big thing that we're going to focus on at Parkersburg? Like what are you telling your swimmers? Like, what do we have to really focus on? What do we have to really get better at?
Walls.
I think that's every swim coach's answer. It's like,
right?
it
It sounds so
walls.
generic. I was trying to think of something else to say, but
It's true.
the walls, we really hammer those. And really it's a little late for Tuesday, but my message to my boys is I have a boys team that can absolutely be state champions next year, the year after. They're very young right now. We've got to step up and step into those higher places. I've got, I scored out the meet a little bit, and I have a lot of points being scored, like a lot of like races scoring, but they're low points.
Right.
We've got to get the people up into that top 3. We've got to get some relays up into the top 6. I was a little disappointed when I scored it out because I know I have so many point scorers, but then it really hit me how much you've got to have some of those boys in the top 3, some of those boys, those relays in the top 6.
Well, you actually segued really well to our next question. That was very good. I'm so proud. So tell me, so there is a million different ways to finish in the top 5, top 6. So with all the data that I do, I did the exact same thing that you did, but I did it for every team. And so it currently has, if they say there's no state meet and we just use the seed times, your guys would finish 5th and your girls would finish 6th. And so I also looked at like the rankings or like where your relays are ranked and your individuals are ranked. And I call a lot of them in the danger zone. So you're the first person that I talked about the danger zone. The danger zone, I think, is anything from 9 to 16. That is the danger zone because you could finish in the top 6. You could finish in the top 6, or you could finish number 16.
Yep.
So tell me, would you? And then there's other teams that, like, I remember Fairmont Senior did this a couple years ago, where they had 5 girls and their plan was you just have to win every race, and they literally almost did it.
Yeah.
So there's multiple different ways to do states. Tell me, like, how do you manage? Because, like you said, no, you have very few ranked in the top 5. Like, how do you get them? How do you get them mentally motivated? Because yeah, it's yes, you can score a lot of points, but how do you get them to mentally motivate to score more points?
You know, I think you sit down with them and you kind of show them where these points are ranking out, and you show them, you know, how close are you, you know, the top 12 score, how close are you to the top 12? How close are you to 6? How close are you to breaking into that top 3? You know, I know Ian Sasson has talked to me a lot about that, because in that breaststroke, he's
Yes.
looking at that and he's going, I could finish in the top 3. And I'm like, yeah, you can. You know, that boy's breaststroke is so tight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think it's really looking at that psych sheet, and instead of using it to psych them out, where it could,
That's right.
you know, let them use it to pump themselves up and be like, look how close I am. If I could push a little bit harder, look what I can do for my team.
And so, and tell me, I know you don't like the format change because you made a petition about it, but what I think, that might help some people is, so in past years, if you were in the preliminaries and you dropped 25 seconds, you still finished 7th. Okay. So the one good thing about the format change is that there isn't that. Like
Right. You're not stuck.
you're not stuck. You are racing. So like there's gonna be 8 lanes. You're 1 through 8. So you actually get to see that. Do you think that's going to help you a little bit? Do you think that'll help? What do you think?
You know, with my team being in the danger zone, like you talked about,
Mm-hmm.
I think this format does help me a little bit. Now, I want to be clear, I still hate it. I still hate everything about it, because it just doesn't promote faster swimming for the entire state. And I mean, having been a West Virginia swimmer my entire life, I
Right.
love seeing this state swim fast. But in terms of point scoring, it may work to my advantage a little bit that they're not stuck where they're coming in. You know, it is finals, but they're not stuck in 6 through 12 or outside of the scoring range. So it is harder though when you're not circle seated, to try to move up. You know, that does add an extra degree of difficulty if you're in heat 2 and trying to break into that top 6. You know, that makes it more difficult. But, you know, having that more fluid scoring, I think, could help me a little bit.
Now, the next thing I want to talk about, I want to talk about your region as a whole. So I come from a region 2, which so most people have no idea where. We just talked about this earlier. I tell everyone I'm from the Eastern Panhandle. I'm from the town of my school is in the town of Inwood, and nobody has no idea where that is. So with that, if my team finishes 3rd place in Region 2, that usually means that like you are like nowhere near states. However, I looked at like your region, and 3rd place in your region, right behind, is 5th place in the state. Tell me, is that how does that help and how does that hurt you to have like a region where like a third place overall team could still finish in the top 5?
It is tough, you know, because then, you know, I go to score out the meet and Wheeling Park is ahead of us, even though we beat them on Saturday. You know, so it's interesting the way that it plays out when you mix everyone else in. One really interesting thing, in the boys 500, Killian Coster got 14th in our region, and he made it to state. Like, I mean, it's crazy. But then Ethan Metz got 3rd in the 100 free. He auto qualified, and he's not in the top 8.
Right.
You know, I think he might even be outside of scoring range. I'm going off memory, but you know, so it's crazy the way that plays out with the different regions that are better at different things. Like our region seems to be faster in most events, except for when you get to those sprints, and you know, you've got a boy who came in 3rd in our region, seated outside scoring range in the state. So, but then you've got a boy in the 500 who came in 14th in the region, And I went, well, he's probably not going to make it, but I guess I'll count it out just to see. And went, holy crap, he's going to make it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting the way that plays out in different events. But overall, it's tough being in one of the faster, more competitive regions and coming in 8th or 9th and wondering if you're going to make it to state or not.
Because I always wonder, because like in Region 2, we have the opposite problem. We have if we finished 4th, we're like, some years, a lot of years, like for most of the years, 4th place was like nowhere near. Sometimes our 3rd place was like the 26th or 27th team, and we were like that region that everyone got mad at because it like it totally defeated it. Like it took someone out of an event. So I've always wondered this. How do you guys like feel? So that, are you always like pretty sure that 4th and 5th place go? Like, what? Tell me the mindset. Like, as soon as the race is done in your region, as soon as like a race is done in your region, and your swimmer doesn't finish 3rd, it finishes like 4th or 5th. Are you usually pretty comfortable without looking at swimdunity? I know a lot of people look at that and they're waiting, but like usually you guys are first. I don't think you guys have ever been a region that I've been waiting on. So do you, if you're like 4th or 5th, are you like pretty darn sure that you're making it? Like, tell me about that.
I mean, I'm always, cautious.
Right.
I don't go telling the kid like, yeah, you're going to states. But in my head, I'm like, yeah, up to about 6th place, I'm like, you're probably good. And then it's really when you get into like the 7th to 9th that you're like, well, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, up to 6th place in my head, I'm pretty sure that they're going, just because I know that we're one of the faster regions. But of course, you can't take that for granted because, again, those sprint events just seem to be so much faster everywhere else.
Or there's sometimes, I know some years, and happens in all regions, some years, Region 2, Region 3, like some years the sprinters are just so good. Like Region 2, this is like the first year that like the top 7 in our sprinters are went to state. So like it's just so cyclical. So I do understand that. So tell me, we did briefly mention about the format change and how it might help you. Is there something different that you're telling your swimmers because that there's a different format change? Is there something different that you're telling them? Because are you telling them, okay, now you can't just like kind of do a sort of swim in the beginning? Like, tell me what you're telling them differently than you would in a normal year.
Yeah, it's a much different approach, especially for our club kids who are used to swimming prelims, finals, meets.
Mm-hmm.
And the kids who are usually near the top, who are used to kind of cruising in just a little bit in prelims to get the spot they need, and then going hard in finals. But it's also this mindset of you're racing people that aren't in your heat. In the past, you're racing people who aren't in your heat to try to get to finals. Now you're racing people who aren't in your heat for the points.
Yes.
So, just because it's just kind of like when we're at regionals, just because you're winning doesn't mean you're fast enough. You've got to keep pushing faster. Don't get complacent just because you're beating the people in your heat, because you're racing people outside of your heat as well.
Now tell me, I feel like such a nerd every time I say this, but like when I was a coach, there's just something different that as soon as, because I also swam in high school, I wasn't very good. I was lucky to make it to states. True confession. I do not tell people I was a world-class swimmer by any stretch of the imagination. But there's something different. There's something super special as soon as you walk into the state meet, even as a coach after you've swam before. Tell me, do you have that same feeling, or am I just crazy nerdy? Like, tell me about that.
You can feel it in the air. Like, you can reach out and just grab it or touch it. I mean, it's like, it's right there. No, you're absolutely right. And that was, in part of I can't remember if I put it on the petition or if I put it in the email to the SSIC. I'm like, when you walk in that building, you can just feel that energy. I mean, even as a coach, you can just feel it. It's that when they say take your mark in finals and you can hear a pin drop, despite the fact there's thousands of people in this room. I mean, it's an unreal experience.
Or Scott Wilson in his dress up in his like fancy blue overcoat. Like there's
iconic.
Yeah, like if there was a West Virginia Swimming Hall of Fame, the blue jacket that Scott Wilson wears at the state meet is definitely going to be in there.
That's it.
Because yeah, it is so intense. And so so what do you so as a former swimmer, like what do you think that kind of helps you motivate your swimmers for states, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think so. The state meet's a lot different than when I swam. First of all, when I swam, it seemed like the club swimmers didn't take high school swim as seriously as they do now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I ever truly tapered for a high school state meet. I might have rested a little bit, but just never a full taper. And now it seems like across the state, these club kids focus on this high school meet so much more, which is fantastic. It's such a great thing to see. It's meant so much faster times for us across the state.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I think they, know that I draw on that experience. I've got a picture of me doing the finals walkout as, little teenager. So, I think that does help me to understand where they're coming from and their perspective, and to, give them that extra insight, especially because I have such a young team.
Now, what was your final song?
I actually came out to, it was DC Talk. It was a Christian song.
Oh, wait, is it the What You Say or something?
I cannot think of the name of it right now, but Jesus Freak.
Jesus Freak, that's right, yes.
Yes, I came out to Jesus Freak both my freshman and sophomore year. It is actually a pretty intense song. Like, no one else kind of got it, other than like a few people in the stands are like, yeah, I knew this song. But it is a pretty, good intense intro. So yeah, that was my walkout song.
That's so awesome. Now tell me, non-swimming, what is your favorite like meet tradition? Because I know there's like all sorts of fun. Like some people will eat like at the Olive Garden. That's like their only time they ever eat at the Olive Garden, or they go to Oliverio's? I'm an out of towner, but Oliverio's is nearby. Tell me, what is your favorite like meet tradition? Not necessarily swimming wise.
We stop at the Outback on the way home after every state meet. There's an Outback in Bridgeport at the mall there. And that is big for the last 3 years. That's been our meet tradition, that we stop at Outback. Everyone, we like buy some appetizers for the tables and sit around and eat some steak because we just finished swimming and we're so proud of how those kids did.
That is so awesome. Yes. As I said, I always like to hear those. Those are always my favorite, hearing those. Well, thank you so much. I've totally enjoyed this interview. And so I'm looking forward to seeing your team at States, and you got to tell them to make sure they watch these podcasts as soon as they come up. I think it'll be great. All right. For the girls in Region 1, we've got in 10th place, Oak Glen High School with 6 points. They were led by Talia Kasanovic in the 100-yard freestyle. In 9th place, we've got Weir High School with 7 points. They were led by Jules Glodowski in the 50-yard free. In 8th place, we've got Brook High School with 32 points. They were led by Veronica Mann in the 50-yard free and the 500-yard freestyle. In a tie for 6th place, we've got Wheeling Central with 38 points. They were led by Lauren Garan in the 50 free and the 100-yard free. And we also have University with 38 points, and they were led by Mia Rice in the 200-yard freestyle and the 100-yard breaststroke. In 5th place, we have Parkersburg South High School with 48 points. They were led by Jordan Claypool, who won the 50 free and the 100-yard backstroke. In 4th place, we've got John Marshall with 65 points. They were led by Laura Seiler and Victoria Kidney. Laura Seiler in the 50 free and the 100-yard free. Victoria Kidney in the 200-yard IM and the 100-yard backstroke. In 3rd place, we got Parkersburg High School with 71 points. They were led by Jaden Welsh in the 100-yard backstroke and the 100-yard breaststroke. And in 2nd place, Morgantown High School with 106 points. They were led by Caroline Riggs in the 200-yard freestyle and the 100-yard butterfly, both events of which she won. And our champion with the nail biter by 1 point, Wheeling Park, with 107 points. They were led by Jenna Bopp in the 200-yard IM and the 100-yard breaststroke. Individual events qualified. We've got Wheeling Park with 13. Parkersburg with 12 individual events qualified. Morgantown 10, John Marshall 8, University 7, Parkersburg South and Wheeling Central both each have 6 of individual events qualified. Brook 5, Weir 2, and Oak Glen 1. Relays, Wheeling Park, Morgantown, Parkersburg, and John Marshall qualified all 3 of their relays. And Parkersburg South, University, Wheeling Central, and Brook qualified 2. For the all-region team, from Parkersburg South, Jordan Claypool. Wheeling Park, Jenna Bopp, Abby Turner. From Morgantown High School, Caroline Riggs and Delaney Householder. And from Brook High School, Veronica Mann. That is your all-region 1 girls scores. Right, it is time for the Region 1 guys scores. In 10th place, we've got John Marshall High School with 5 points. They were led by Morgan Miller in the 200-yard freestyle. In 9th place, we have Oak Glen High School with 6 points. They were led by Buck Franklin in the 50 free and the 100-yard freestyle. In 8th place, we got Weir High School with 11 points. They were led by Ryan Spears in the 100-yard back and the 200-yard free. In 7th place, we have Wheeling Central with 46 points. They were led by Caden Andreco, and he led those in 50 free and the 100-yard butterfly. In 6th place, we got University High School with 52 points. They were led by Frank McCutcheon, who won the 200-yard free and the 500-yard free. In 5th place, we've got In 5th place, we've got Brook High School with 63 points, led by Ethan Roby in the 500-yard freestyle and the 100-yard breaststroke. In 4th place, Parkersburg South High School with 69 points. They were led by Jackson Dirth in the 50 free and the 100-yard free. In 3rd place, we've got Morgantown High School with 70 points. They were led by Preston Householder in the 200-yard IM and the 500-yard freestyle. The runner-up in Region 1 is Wheeling Park High School with 85 points. They were led by Owen Leary, who won the 50 and the 100-yard freestyle. And our regional champion, by scoring 12 more points than the runner-up, is Parkersburg High School, and they were led by Ethan Metz in the 200-yard free and the 100-yard freestyle. Individual events qualified for the guys. Parkersburg South and Parkersburg had 11 events qualified for. Brook had 10. Morgantown Wheeling Park had 9. Wheeling Central 8. University 4. Weir and John Marshall each had 2. Qualifying all of their relays, Parkersburg, Wheeling Park, Parkersburg South, and Brook. Qualifying 2 of their relays is going to be Morgantown, University, and Wheeling Central. On your all-Region 1 team, we've got Owen Leary of Wheeling Park. We've got Frank McCutcheon and Zach Rebus of University High School. We've got Preston Householder of Morgantown High School, Ethan Roby, Brook High School, and Ethan Metz of Parkersburg High School. Those are your Region 1 boys scores.